Imagine waking up one winter morning to find your entire town covered in a thick, untouched blanket of snow. It's quiet, peaceful, almost magical. But as you step outside, you see something that makes your blood run cold. A single line of footprints, stretching as far as the eye can see. They're not human. They're not from a dog, a cat, or any animal you recognize. They look like small, cloven hooves, as if made by something walking on two legs. This isn't just a story. It's a real-life mystery that unfolded in the small rural communities of southern Maryland in February 1945, and it remains one of the most baffling and chilling events in American folklore. On that freezing morning, families emerged from their homes to discover this bizarre trail. The prints were evenly spaced, in a perfect, single-file line. But the truly shocking part wasn't just their shape, it was where they went. The trail didn't follow paths or roads. It cut straight across the landscape, ignoring every obstacle in its way. People followed the tracks, their curiosity quickly turning to disbelief and then to fear. The footprints went straight across frozen creeks, over vast, snow-covered fields, and through dense thickets where no animal could possibly fit. They went up and over tall fences without breaking the pattern and, most unnervingly, appeared on the roofs of barns and houses, as if whatever made them could walk on air. There were no breaks in the snow, no signs of a jump or a landing. It was a continuous, unbroken line, defying all logic and the laws of nature. Experienced hunters, men who had spent their entire lives tracking animals through the Maryland woods, were completely stumped. They had never seen anything like it. The shape of the prints was disturbing enough, resembling the cloven hoof often associated with goats or deer. But no goat walks in a perfectly straight line for miles on end, and certainly, no deer walks on two legs. The sheer impossibility of the trail sent a wave of whispers through the community. The mystery deepened with every step people took along the tracks. What kind of creature could move like this? Was it an animal at all? As the trail continued for miles and miles, crossing multiple properties and entire towns, a darker idea began to take hold. As news of the strange phenomenon spread from farm to farm, a palpable fear gripped the small communities of southern Maryland. People started locking their doors, even during the day, and kept their children inside. The local taverns and general stores buzzed with theories. Some insisted it had to be a strange, undiscovered animal, perhaps one driven from the deep woods by the harsh winter. Others clung to the idea of an elaborate prank, though nobody could figure out how a prankster could create miles of perfect identical footprints traversing impossible terrain like rooftops and dense forests, all without leaving any of their own tracks or evidence. The logistics of such a hoax seemed even more unbelievable than the footprints themselves. But then, an older, more sinister explanation surfaced, whispered in hushed tones. Someone pointed out the cloven hoof shape and remembered an old story from England. Back in 1855, in a region called Devon, nearly identical tracks had appeared overnight after a heavy snowfall, terrorizing the population. Those tracks had been dubbed the Devil's Footprints. And now, seeing the same unnerving pattern in their own snow-covered fields, the residents of Maryland gave the phenomenon the same chilling name. The legend had crossed the Atlantic. The fear wasn't just about an unknown animal anymore. It was about something supernatural, something ancient and malevolent. The idea that the devil himself had walked through their towns during the night was a terrifying thought, but for some, it was the only explanation that seemed to fit the bizarre evidence before them. With the local population in a state of near panic, the authorities had to get involved. Local law enforcement, alongside state wildlife officials, were called in to investigate the mysterious tracks. They meticulously examined the prints, measured the stride, and followed the trail for as long as they could. Their official conclusions only added to the mystery. They definitively ruled out all known local animals. It wasn't a deer, not a bear, and not any kind of livestock. They also ruled out a human cause, stating that a hoax on this scale, especially in the deep snow and treacherous terrain, was practically impossible to pull off. The experts were brought in, and they offered a range of scientific-sounding theories. Perhaps it was a hopping animal, like a rabbit, whose prints had merged together. Maybe it was a fox with a deformed paw. Some suggested that a unique weather pattern, with melting and refreezing, could have distorted ordinary animal tracks into this strange shape. Another theory proposed an unknown animal walking in a highly unusual gait. But none of these explanations could account for the key, baffling details of the case. They couldn't explain the perfectly straight, single-file line that stretched for miles. They couldn't explain the enormous distance the tracks covered without a single break. And most importantly, none of the theories could explain how the footprints appeared on rooftops without any other marks in the surrounding snow. Every logical explanation fell apart when faced with the facts. The tracks violated every known principle of animal movement and physics. And then, just as mysteriously as they had appeared, the tracks stopped. After several days of frantic investigation and speculation, the trail simply vanished. It didn't fade out. It didn't end at a road or a river. It didn't lead to a den, a cave, or a barn. In the middle of an open, snow-covered field, the line of hoofprints just ended. There was nowhere for the creature to go. It was as if it had simply vanished into thin air. No one ever saw tracks like them in Maryland again. No strange creature was ever found, dead or alive. No one ever came forward to confess to a prank. The mystery was never solved, leaving a permanent scar on the local folklore. The Devil's Footprints of Maryland became a story frozen in time, a puzzle with no solution. 4 decades after that bizarre winter in 1945, the story of the Devil's Footprints became a staple of southern Maryland folklore. During long winter nights, with snow piling up outside, parents would tell their children the story, a cautionary tale to keep them from wandering out in the dark. The legend was passed down through generations, becoming a chilling piece of local identity. "Don't walk outside alone at night," they'd say. "The footprints come back when the snow is deep enough." Old-timers who were there would swear by what they saw, their voices low as they recalled the unease that swept through their community. "Something was out here once," they'd recount, "and it walked like no animal we know." Even today, the story is debated. Some dismiss it as simple folklore, a tall tale that grew more elaborate with each retelling. Others believe it was an undiscovered creature, a cryptid that made a rare appearance and was never seen again. A few hold on to scientific explanations, suggesting a rare weather phenomenon was the true culprit. But for a handful of people, the ones whose families witnessed the tracks firsthand, the explanation is far more unsettling. They believe they saw something that day that they weren't supposed to see, a brief glimpse into a world that exists just beyond our own, a world where things walk on rooftops and leave behind cloven hoofprints in the snow. Was it history or was it a mystery? The truth, it seems, was written in the snow, and it melted away long ago, leaving only a legendary and terrifying question mark. What do you think really happened in Maryland in 1945? Was it a mass delusion, a clever hoax, a previously unknown animal, or something else entirely? These kinds of unsolved local mysteries are fascinating because they remind us that there are still things in this world that we just see and explain. Let me know your best theories down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think could have created those impossible tracks. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed diving into strange and unsolved historical mysteries like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation. See you in the next video.